We got another sled coming in for some work, and I'm excited about this one. My ears are all, look, why is this hat doing this to my ears, Pep? Buddy, with the dump trailer? We can't be putting this in the dump trailer. Buddy, I don't think we can be putting that in the dump trailer.
Yeah, no, it was a little dusty.
It's a little nice to be in the dump trailer.
And that's convinced me that I didn't make a mistake here.
Oh, what do you mean?
I'd never buy another Polaris in 2000, season ending in 2005.
Yeah, well, the confusion did you bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's left a bad taste.
This is gonna be sweet. Oh. As you saw in that little intro there, we got quite the oddball, really cool one-off hot rod back there that we got to do a full build on. My buddy Ryan ended up picking this thing up. It is some sort of Polaris executive corporate demo thing. Either way, it's a factory 2025 Boost Dynamix, VR1, 137, the whole deal, but just in a really unique one-off combo straight from the factory. So that wraps that up, because I know everyone's going to be asking, where did this come from? How is it the way that it is? That's all that we really know. We got it from a dealership, Sports Unlimited out in Utica, New York. And yeah, that covers that. Otherwise, we got a whole build to do on this thing. Ryan basically picked this up and dropped it off and said, I told myself I would never buy another Polaris again, but here we are. I need it to be, I need it to blow my socks off, basically, is what he said. And he said, go through it top to bottom as if it were yours, do everything that you would do if it were yours, and basically give me a hot rod. So that's what we're doing. As you can see, or as you saw in the thumbnail or whatever, I'm not sure how I did all that, but you can see we got a lot of parts back there. We got a lot of really cool, really high quality stuff going into this. So I'm gonna put it back on dollies, move some stuff around, put all that on a table, and then I will go through the entire build here of all the products and what we're going with and what's going in it, cover all that, and then we will get into the whole build process. So let's get into it. I don't really even know where to start with this because there's so many different boxes, pieces, parts all over. So I guess I'll just start with what's in front of me and I will just work my way around like that. Getting a little flustered here. First thing right here, the Frog Skins Cross Country Ventilation Kit. So it's just a couple different little vent pieces. You know, you pull your panels off, drill some holes, throw these on, a little bit extra ventilation. It's mostly clutch side. I think there's one on the exhaust side to let some fresh air into the exhaust, which is sweet on these boosts because they make a ton of heat down in that corner by the chain case. So getting a little vent, getting some more airflow in on that side is a good thing. Moving on, next thing in front of me here, bunch of stud boy goodies. We've got their tried and true power points here. These are for a 2-ply track, so they have the 1-inch head on them, 1.5-inch length from stud boy. So that should give us about 3/8 of an inch penetration over the lug, give or take. Pro Series backers and their neon, or I think it's high, what do we call this one? High Vis green. So that matches this Polaris, not lime squeeze anymore, green, whatever they're calling it now. This matches really well. We got the singles, and we've got some doubles. We're doing the kind of traditional pattern that Ryan likes, which is 2 singles, 2 doubles, 2 single, 2 doubles, all the way up through. So that's what we're doing stud-wise. I've done a bunch of these things over the years. I've done pretty much every sled of Ryan's as of the last 3 or 4 seasons has been this package with the 2.4 setup, and that seems to be working good. He likes it, he's happy with it, so that's what we're sticking with. Next up, what do we have over here? Those are mine. Those are also mine. We have one of my Boost muffler mods here. This one actually does something unlike some of the others out there. This is basically so that you can have a stock appearing muffler, but you have quite a bit better flow where it matters. And the biggest thing that a lot of people like about the factory muffler mod is that it looks stock, yet when you're under boost and the wastegate is open, it has that 2-stroke sound that everyone loves. But when you're partial throttle, just cruising around and the wastegate's shut, you still have a whole muffled chamber, and the sled is pretty much stock and quiet. So you can kind of navigate through towns and behind homes and all that stuff and be respectful. But then if you're up on service roads and whatever and you're getting after it, it sounds the way we all want it to. So that's pretty slick. I've got some of those on hand. They're not on the web store. They might go on the web store, but it's going to be a core exchange, and I'm working on figuring that out. But it's going to be very, very case-by-case basis on those things. So that's exhaust side of things. Let's move on to the whole table of goodies over there. Just going to start at the back of the table and work our way across it. We've got the APM Fab HD torsion spring mounts. These are on the web store. You guys can pick these up. These things move pretty quick. Almost out of my current inventory, but I'll order up some more. They have a bit of a bigger diameter here on, let me get this nut off. Phrasing. The diameter here that meets against the rail is a little bit bigger than factory, so you end up with spreading that load capacity across that a little bit more, which is better for running heavier torsion springs and whatnot. Much more rugged material here. A little bit of bling, everyone likes that. So those are cool. Then moving on to some different torsion springs. These are at the recommendation of Will up at Velocity Sled Performance. He did a lot of work last season dialing in the Dynamix package and going through what it likes and what it doesn't like and all that. And he said, these are the springs to get. So we've got this for suspension stuff. On the front end, we do have a set of the 2-inch progressive springs coming for this thing. Those are, like everyone else's, in production, should be in hand in a couple weeks here. And then, yeah, we'll get the sled back after the build, toss those on real quick, but that's what we got coming for the front and suspension-wise. So a couple spring changes, and off we go with the Dynamix. Might as well stick with the back of the sled. We got some big dog 9-inch wheels. So I got a hold of Andy over at Avid Products because I like his axle the best. I've used all of them that are out there. This is my favorite one. It's very simple, straightforward to install. The bolts on the inside are captured, so you don't need to worry about. They have a big hex machine, so all you have to do is hold the bolt in. You don't have to get a wrench on it or any of that stuff. The hex is captured so that when you go to tighten it, all you got to do is just get something in there like a little screwdriver and hold the bolt in to its machined out channel. You don't have to try and get a wrench. None of that crap. Throw this thing in, bolt it in, off you go. This is the only one on the market that I've tried that has not loosened up on me over time. So that's why I use this one. Highly recommend reaching out to Andy over at Avid Products. Picking yourself up one of these if you're looking to go with a big wheel. Moving along with that, we've got 2 of Andy's 9-inch inner wheels. These are also from Avid. A lot of you guys that are doing big wheel stuff and accessorizing, you've seen these. Then on the outside, we got some bling. Ryan said, get me some bling, get me some billet wheels for the outside. I said, which ones do you want? And he goes, I don't care, you figure it out. So hopefully he likes these, because these are what I would run if this were mine. This is TKI's 9-spoke wheel, 9-inch, right? 9-spoke? 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 9. Yeah, 9-inch, 9-spoke wheel. Pretty sweet. I love the little machined bits here and there. So I'm excited to get these on and get this whole package in. It's going to make the thing look pretty nasty at the back. My phrasing is all out of sorts tonight. This is not good for me. Someone's going to make a sound clip of this, and it's not going to go well down the road. While I was packing those wheels up, I remembered I need to touch on a thing real quick. Originally, when I ordered the billet wheels from TKI, they sent me the wrong ones. I gave them a call. They overnighted the proper ones, took care of everything. Amazing customer service there. So shout out to them for making that right. You'd love to see that. Not something you get everywhere now. So keep that in mind when you're looking for pieces, parts, wheels, billet, things like that. Clutching stuff. We got a full package here from Will at Velocity Sled Performance. Basically his entire boost package. If you're looking at this and you're looking at these springs, these are not the springs that are going in it. I'm not going to show you guys the colors. He's worked really hard to develop that package, and I know there's a lot of people out there that would just pause it, look at the stripes or the colors, and try to figure out what's in it. These aren't anything you're going to want to put in your boost. If you do, you're going to have a really bad time. But the whole kit comes with springs, comes with the weights, P22 cover. We've got tri-roller helix conversion, custom VSP helix, the rollers for the tri-roller, and off we go. That covers our clutch kit. I've got this in my boost currently with my P22. Got that all dialed in so I know where to go and what to do and all that stuff in terms of setting this up. Yeah. I'll throw these back in the drawer here. Along with the clutch kit, we do have a tune coming for this thing. Essentially the exact same tune that's in my sled. No reason to go any different with that. It's kind of the aggressive 93 pump gas tune, a little bit of boost stain, and off we go. If he plans on doing a lot of Canada stuff, we'll throw a pump 91 flash in it. That way we can stay safe with the above ground tanks and whatnot we get up in Quebec. along with the tune and clutching and performance stuff, let's cover the rest of that pretty quick. We have the TRS engine mounts for the 2025 and up Polaris or Patriot engines, Polaris, Patriot, blah, blah, blah. Get our clutches in perfect alignment there so we don't have any excessive belt heat. TRS power flow valve here. Get that installed so we can get a little bit better airflow and a little bit more consistency out of that. The upgraded screen for the power flow valve, and along with air intake and induction things, ta-da, got this fancy piece here. So this is something I've been working on and have made up for doing the 3-inch inlet compressor plate here. With my sled, obviously, I have that big snorkus sticking out of the hood. Not everyone's gonna wanna cut their hood all apart. So I've been working on this one right here. Pretty nice piece. Like I said in my intake fabrication video for the Boost, I don't love doing 90-degree couplers everywhere. However, these new 411 Works couplers are rugged. There is pretty much 0% chance you're gonna collapse one of these things. They are 5-ply. They are just really top quality. These are from the Turek boys over in New Hampshire. Ryan Turek, Formula D, professional driver. I've drifted with them for a very long time, known them for a very long time, and they're just knocking out quality products left and right. These worm gears are also from them. They are a dual bead setup. I might as well show you these close up here. Hopefully you can see the double seal in here. Yeah, big shout out to the boys over there. They're crushing it, all their stuff. Top quality. I'm excited to have a place that I can order some fabrication parts from that's local, somewhat local, ships out real quick. I mean, you're not gonna squish this down. You're not gonna suck this thing shut like you would some of the cheaper ones. Rugged pieces, you could even hear it. Hear the ruggedness? Hear that thing? Woo. Shoo. So it's a little bit overkill for this intake thing that I'm doing here, but I would rather do this with some really top quality stuff than use anything subpar like this. You won't catch me putting any flimsy, floppy, tight radius 90 on anything ever. So while I don't love doing it out of couplers, this was the most cost-effective way to go about building this thing up. It interfaces with the stock airbox, and then I have an additional piece that comes out on this side and goes to a vent that's relatively low profile. You're not gonna blow your knee through it or anything like that. Yeah, more on that as I get it done. And in the sled, I've got to add the T-mat bung and a little mount, but it's coming along. I've been prototyping this up on my personal sled, and I've got one more to do after this. I don't think I'm going to produce and sell these just because of the time it takes to do them. It's not very cost effective. However, that's always up for debate. If someone wants to bring me a build like this, I'll make you one. But yeah, that's that. Oh, moving on, let's do some lighting stuff. Ryan got all the Polaris LED goodies. We've got the auxiliary floodlight kit. We have the hood vent kit here, the RGB one, which I like because it goes along with the RGB handguard ones. I'm gonna go ahead when I put these in and make them all amber. So the handguards, the Nightblade headlight, and the hood vents are all amber, they all match. And then from there, he can do whatever he wants with the app on his phone. But that's how I'm gonna set it up. So we got all the lights. We got all the lights. He's gonna be seeing everyone, everyone's gonna be seeing him, you know? We have a one rig scratcher kit here, all anodized black. Eric's own personal springs that he's got making, or is making in-house kind of deal. That whole kit, good to go. Get that mounted up. We got some link bracket adapter jobbies that just bolt onto the tunnel there, and then the link brackets go to that adapter and adapter to the adapter to run all the link bags, because he's got all the link bags in the world, so that way he can use those on this and not have to buy all new bags. I think the last little bit to cover here before we really start just getting into the build, tomorrow, not today, but tomorrow. Snow Studs Magnum, 6-inch round bar, bigger host bar, aggressive carbide. This is what I run on my personal stuff right now. And then some Woody's Navigators on the front. Again, same setup I've got on all my Polaris fleet and what I've been running for the last couple of years. Works really good when your suspension's set up well. This is enough for most of us to get the job done. So that's kind of it. I think that covers the bulk of the build here. So yeah, I'm excited to get this thing done. I'm excited for Ryan to get on this, but enough about what I'm excited about. Time to put all this stuff away, get the shop repositioned so I can get to work tomorrow, flash this into me doing some stuff tomorrow. Before we get into the really good stuff on Ryan's Boost build here, I'm gonna go ahead and stud it. I'm waiting on a lot of other parts still, but I have the template and the tunnel protectors, so I might as well get the flap off of there, put in my nut certs like I usually do, so we're not dealing with rivets down the road should we ever have to pull the flap off. Protectors, mark the track, drill the track, and then continue to wait for parts. So jump into this. I've covered a lot of this stuff, especially the studding process and everything, in multiple other videos. I'll put a couple links in the description. I'll probably just time lapse this real quick, give you guys a little highlight of the nutsert process and whatnot, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so we got the bumper off, clearly, as you can see. What I like to do once I drill these rivets out, I drill out these 4 spots and the bumper one here, and I just put an M6x1 nutsert in. That way it's just a lot easier taking stuff off down the road. Quite a bit stronger. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with this T27 pulling right out of the bumper here, because there aren't many threads in this aluminum bumper. Some of them are riveted, like this XC next to me here was riveted on this one. I'm not sure why. That's the first one I've seen that's riveted. Most of them have been bolted, but either way, drill those 4 and then drill all these out, put the nutsert in, and we are good to go. Ow! That's not cool. You little hooer, I got a little metal sliver. Can we not play this game? I got to do. Gotcha. Tunnel protector time. Run through this real quick, witches. If you haven't done the matrix protectors before, they are incredibly easy. If you're running a bigger lug track, like over, and even with the 1.5 Storm, I found that this taper at the front sometimes is really close to the lugs. So I have in the past ended up slicing a bigger angle in this and going back to like here and then tapering it out slowly. If you're not running really big studs, you need the extra protection. So use your discretion there. So you got your hardware. In the tunnel extrusion is a T-slot, and then you take your nut, you put that there, socket with a little extension, get this started. I start these just until the nylock engages, and then you do have to back it off a little bit in the sled, but we'll cover that when we get there. So go ahead, put all the T-slots, get them all started, and all the access holes here on your protector, and then we'll meet you over at the sled. Okie dokie. All right, so once you have your protector over at the sled, you do have to have the bumper off, obviously, which is why I went and pulled the bumper off. You get your little T-slot there, and now that they're engaged in the nylock a little bit, you can spin it around to get it lined up. So go into those T-slots, get the first one started. Slide this guy down a bit, tool, push the T or the hardware, whatever you want to call it, all the way up, T-bolt kind of deal. And then sometimes you have to back it off a bit. Some of these tail pieces here are a little bit tighter than others, and you do have a little bit of wiggle room in it. So you get there, push it up, and then with pressure upward still, you can just loosen the nut, and that'll push the little T-bolt up till it goes in. And then I give it a couple turns again, make sure we don't lose our nut. And you just repeat all the way down through. Just gotta keep shimmying these guys into here. And then once you get them all the way in, you go to tighten them. There is an edge here and this. You line that guy up there. If you want a little more clearance at the front, and you're worried about that, you can slide these back a little bit, till the T-slot's there. It gains you a little bit. That's up to your discretion, I'm not telling you to do it, not telling you not to do it. It is an option though. Our buckets going here with our studs and backers and all that. I'll throw in a link of previous installs of this that cover it more in depth. The only thing I really want to touch on is don't do the crock pot heat trick with these things to soften them up. Way more likely to strip them out when you're putting the stud in. So just leave them room temp, Get yourself a good drill. You don't want an impact. A little drill. Run them home. That's what we're gonna do. Let's get into it. This guy's making all kinds of racket. All right, the studs are all done. Before I let the back down, we're gonna go ahead and put the big wheel kit in. Got a couple small little tricks to go and show you guys for putting that stuff in. So here's this, get everything unwrapped, get the grease ready, get all the tools and whatnot. We'll be back to the sled in a minute. Oh, man.
Sugar's not good for you. I don't know about
So the only real trick I've got for doing these rear axles is keep your track somewhat tensioned right now. I'll probably zip it up a little bit and get it as tight as possible against the rails here in the upper idlers. And then I like to zip tie the bottom of the track to the rail so that it can't slack here, and then do some sort of zip tie contraption in the top by the upper idler. So the same thing, so it can't slack on the top side, it can't slack on the bottom. This stays tight, and that gives you as much free play with the track back here as possible. And then usually end up having to do some sort of 2x4 contraption in here to keep the slack in this back corner. And that usually seems to help a little bit. So I'm gonna go ahead and start zip tying this stuff up and see what I can come up with for some sort of retainer contraption. The GoPro battery died in the middle of some filming, and there were also a ton of people in and out of the shop. So filming was basically not possible, but we got the axle set up in. All right, those are in and good. Track tension is roughly set. I'm gonna do a final track tension on this once it sits for a while and I swap out the torsion springs and stuff, and once everything else is done, I'll run it and make sure the track is centered and all that stuff. And luckily, with the big spoke or the gap in the spokes on these, I can get to the rear axle bolt and the tensioner adjuster and all that stuff and do that with the wheels on. So I can continue on with this and then check all that at the end. But our tension is roughly set for now. So we gotta spin these, lock them in. If you're gonna do one of these big wheel axle kits, the 9s are pretty big, pretty tight in through all of here. You're gonna have to go ahead and loosen this T50, this big 15 mil bolt across here, and then remove a coupler from one side or both, up to you. Once you do that, you can spread the rail apart, and then I assemble one half of the axle. So one inner adjuster with the bolt sticking through, and then you do a wheel, you do the center axle, slide that in, and then from the bottom here, hold the other block on this side, fish the wheel in, line it all up, kind of do like one of these numbers with it once it's all in here. And then you can snug everything up and move it all around and tighten these back up and snug those and slide it around and do all that. I will link in the description the Edge video when I did the whole rear axle on my XC Edge contraption thing out there. That has a much more detailed walkthrough of putting in the same axle setup with some 8-inch wheels. Same thing, these are 9s, those were 8s, yada yada. Yeah, plug these in and that'll be about it for the axle, and probably, yeah, that'll probably be about it for today, but we'll see what I have for motivation when I'm done with all this. As you can see, I'm getting going, tearing Ryan's sled down here. We're doing the power flow valve, intake goodies, probably swap the compressor plate while I'm pulling all this out to do that stuff, it'll be easy to drop the engine mount in, and with the console and everything off, it should be easier to align the clutches and the motor and all that stuff. So I'll do that, swap the compressor plate, swap the muffler to the modded one while this is all apart, yada, yada, yada. Just ripping and tearing, pulling things apart, swapping stuff out. Hopefully I remember everything that I have to do and don't put it half back together to pull it half back apart and this and that. I should make a list. Maybe I'll make a list. But yeah, that's where we're at. We're ripping and tearing, pulling things apart. We're just having a ball. I got the AirPods in. This thing's all bent and cattywampus. Someone over-tightened the hell out of that. So that's great. Actually see this quite a bit. Pretty common for this little bolt here to get over-tightened and then get a good bend on it. Unfortunately, people love to do that. They degreased and not degreased, but they sprayed something, cleaned the engine bay, the whole compartment here. She's all slimed up, which is not good for me. Boop, 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 boop. Interesting. The donut stuck into the little elbow. Do you want to come out? Nope. Why is it in so good? Why they do this? Can't tell. Yay, we got it. Just a little bit of weaseling. Little wiggle waggle. She flew right out of there. It all works out pretty good that I got to swap the muffler and everything. Okay. Ow, right bastard. Because to do the power flow valve, you got to pull the center console off and the tank back and all that. And with the old recoil jobby here, it's nice to pull it out and then get some pinch pliers on the cable at the recoil housing, but you can't do that with the big muffler in the way. I mean, you can just clamp onto it here, which is what I've done in the past, but since I have to swap all this anyway, we're gonna do it that way. Muffler out, recoil, clamp, center console, flopped, valve, off we go. How full is this hog? Let go. What the f? This one's stuck. They stick to the little insulator pads every now and then. This one's on there. Yo-ho. Oh yeah, it's full. That's sick. Love that for me. That's right, I need that guy. Look at this dumb thing. Can't have a belt exploding. That's what I ought to do with that. Do the grass. Got the old hot rod script right down here. Before I go to lunch quick, I'm gonna show you guys basically the only way to get to the motor mount in the back over here on the mag side on a boost. There's a lot of lines and hoses in the way. You can probably do it without having the console and stuff off, but this is definitely easier. You could definitely have the tank on, but I already have it stripped apart, whatever. Let me show you that real quick, then I'm gonna go get lunch. Okay, so hopefully this comes out. I don't think it's gonna actually at all. So down in here where I'm shining the light, you got that nut and you got that bolt. They're both 13s. You gotta get those out. And then usually I put something under the engine and the case down here to support that so it doesn't fall. And then once you do that, you can fish that mount out of there through here. You gotta go down through this right here. Whoop, long extension. There's a coolant hose here. You can kind of see me yoinking on it. Basically, you got to pry that away, and then you can see the barely can see the nut there, but you got to go long extension, little universal, 13, you can see the bolt, but yeah, you gotta come way up from here, whoop, down into there, pop that out of there, fish the mount out, fish the new mount in, start all that. Magnets help. Fun thing to do. Big thing, fun big thing going on. Unfortunately, this 25 has been the farthest out of spec I think I've ever seen on one of these. Lead in is like 1/8 of an inch, and we've got, man, with the stock secondary jack shaft spacer setup for the secondary clutch, it was like 1/4 of an inch away from touching the bar in the back, which is just massive. I'll flash in little pictures right now. It was just way out. So doing these mounts and getting this realigned is very important. Other than that, you can see I've got my long extension. Hopefully you can kind of see. I'm sure you probably can't from that angle, but long extension, universal down in there, getting this rear bolt out. I already got the nut out. You can get just a wrench in through here and you get the nut. And then once you get it loose out of the nylock, I just use a magnet and roll it up, move the magnet, roll it up. That way, once it pops off, you can just pull the nut right out with the magnet. I've got this big breaker bar on here because they've got the Loctite piled to these things. I think the torque spec is like 30 or 35 foot-pounds. It's not a lot, but the amount of Loctite that they've got on here makes these things come out pretty hard. It's not too bad right now. I could swap it over, but while I'm just talking and cranking away, what was that? Huh, weird ratchet tooth skip or something maybe. But yeah, while I'm in here just talking and wrenching, I figured I would just leave it. There's no point in switching out my tool. I'm getting there. Once I get this bolt all the way out and loose, pull our tool out, and I will do the magnet again and get that up out of there. Yeah, we can switch this now. So we got our little ratchet. It's a little short, but whatever. Oh yeah, note the really nice piece of wood down there underneath the engine, wedged under there, so it doesn't drop way down. Look at the Loctite on this thing. Jeez. Crazy they locked it in such a bad spot, you know? So the bolt is free out of the threaded base here, but the Loctite has it stuck in that mount pretty good. Okay, she's flopping around. So let's pull these hoses over, get our socket out of there. I always tape the end of this and keep my universal on, because the last thing I want to do is drop my universal down in the bottom of the belly pan. Are you gonna be enough? Oh yeah, come on. I bet these little coolant jobbies are in the way. Oh yeah, the one for the turbo, of course. Got it, got it, got it, got it. Look at this. I know you want to come out of there. Come on, little guy. There you go. Come to Papa. Fun job for a fun guy. Come here. Gotcha. Now, oh, whoop, whoop. Stock mount is out. Throw that away. I'm gonna clean the old Loctite off of this bolt. We're gonna use the new, it's not a new product, but we're gonna use new orange Loctite, which is like a high vibration product that they've got. Clean this, reapply, blow the hole out with some compressed air, fish the new mount down in there, hopefully by hand, not with these, I don't want to scratch it and mar it all up. Fish the new mount in, bolt back in, magnet this, that, snug it. You can tighten it up on the motor side, but we're gonna snug it on the base side of the chassis, and then go do the other PTO front, and then we'll start the realignment process from there. You use the bar, you put it on the primary, you measure the front to the, you want it to touch in the front, you want it to measure the back, and you slide the shims and do the thing and space it all around. Snug it all up, make sure you're good to go. I figure while I'm in here, and this video is already gonna be kind of long, there's no point not just giving you guys a couple more tips on this. When you go to put the new mount back in, or even getting the old one out, sometimes you can get the pry bar and go right here on the recoil. Don't go jamming in here deep, just a little bit on the cover. You can see how easily this whole motor moves around. That'll pick everything up so you can get the mount off the dowel or back in over the dowel and drop the mount back in. Also, if you're like kind of at this similar, Jesus Christ, if you're at this state where you have the tank off, instead of doing a wrench on the nut right here, you can use your same 13 extension contraption and go right in from the back right here between the airbox and the fuel lines to put this nut back on to the motor side. To not lose the nut off of your contraption, a lot of you probably know this trick. If you don't, very easy. Little paper towel, put your nut into there, boom, boom. That stays on, peel the excess off so it's a little bit easier to see what you're doing. And then that stays in there. We can just go right in through here, which with that turbo coolant line is a little tricky. You gotta make sure you get everything lined up. Thread that bad boy. Sorry, my head probably blocked that, but I gotta be able to see what I'm doing. And you just thread that guy right on there. And then I'll take a little ratchet and I'll bring this just about snugged up, you know, just half a millimeter away from tight. That way the mount can still move a little bit side to side for getting the vertical bolt in if I have to have a little movement in there. Now I'm just gonna slap this back together. The other PTO side's very self-explanatory. Everything's right in the front. You can see it all, boom, 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 take those out, do the thing. Over here on your PTO side, you're gonna need a ratchet wrench. The outer one here you can do most of the way with a socket, shallow socket and a ratchet, but with the height of the bolt, you end up pinching on the oil line and whatnot in here. And as you can see, that don't work out too good. You can do a universal like I did on the other one, but like again, with the Loctite and the amount of torque it takes with a universal, you end up weeble wobbling all around in there. So you gotta do a little 1/8 turn at a time type deal, all the way out. Fun stuff. And then if you have a broken one like this that your Snap-on guy can't get you, allegedly, and it's been 6 months with a broken 13, you have really fun things like this where it just skips. So that's awesome. So I'll go get the other one for my race car trailer and put that up there. So maybe we'll get one at some point, someday, you know? Someday. We can hope. Moving on to the compressor plate here. I just recently, probably a week or so before this video, 2 weeks before this video goes out, put out the video of building the new intake on my Boost back there and doing the compressor plate and all that. So the full walkthrough on how to do it is on there. So the real quick run through for you guys watching this one that don't want to go back and watch the other one because you're stubborn. 3 plates on here that hold the compressor cover in, or the inlet plate in. 10 millimeter bolts on that. There's an O-ring in here that's pretty tight. Usually I like to let some PV blaster soak in there once I get these plates off. Then you got to pull it basically straight up in this way. There's a stupid little dowel in here to keep their logo outwards. Haven't found any other reason for that little dowel pin other than to keep the logo oriented. So pull that out, swap the O-ring to your new one, grease it up a little bit, slap it in, three plates, 6 bolts, back in, and then you're done. And then you got to do your intake and whatever and figure out what you're doing there. If you buy the inlet plate from Silver, you do get the little boot to go to the stock box. If you're running a big tune, you might want to consider doing something else intake wise. Really light. You don't want, oh, okay, sick. These new tops sometimes are really cool, sometimes are a real pain in my ass. Ta-da! Yeah, your dowel, I'll get the camera. I'll get the phone and show you. Yeah, I just grabbed the channel locks and just pop it off of there. Sometimes you put some scratches in this, but who really cares? You're throwing it in the trash anyway. You can see that little bit of PB that you just do a little bit, goes a long way, gets in there. And then this little guy, focus up. That little guy is the dowel I'm talking about. So if you try to twist this thing, you'll snap that dowel off. Not that it really probably doesn't matter much if you do, but then take a little pair of these guys. Let go. Got it. See ya. Hitting a little bit of a reset on our tools and stuff here. Got the majority of the difficult stuff all buttoned up. Tightening up, plugging back in, heated shield cord and whatnot under here. Getting the center console and panels back on. Most of the intake stuff is all done. Got the T-mat bung welded into there. That's all set, installed, pretty much ready to fish all the couplers onto that. We got our vent in the panel over here done. I'll flash in a clip of that now while I'm blabbering. But yeah, we got some venting left to do on the side panels and whatnot for the Frog Skins cross-country vent kit. The clutching, all the lighting, the handguards, and the scratcher kit. And I think that's it. So yeah, should have it mostly wrapped up tomorrow as long as all the fancy lights and putting all that stuff in goes well. Hopefully that all clears the intake tube and whatnot down in here. Might be getting a little tight, but we'll find out when we get to that point. So yeah, compressor plates in, modded muffler, blah, 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 blah. Hot rod is buttoned back up, even though I got to pull it back apart somewhat. Side panels, hood. Probably going to be doing that shortly. I'm going to do the clutches and stuff first, and then once those are together, we'll go on to all the lighting goodies here. So yeah, clutches, lights, scratchers, carbide stuff, and then I think we're pretty much done. So depending on how things go, I got a buddy stopping in, pick this thing up. This is going down the road. So depending on how all that goes and what I got for time, might be wrapped up with this today. If not, we'll be wrapped up with it tomorrow morning. But yeah, check that out. A little vent for the intake setup. Kinda stealthy. I mean, you can see it, but sitting outside a restaurant, no one's really gonna notice unless they really be looking and know what they're looking at here. But yeah, it came out good. Uh-oh. What you doing?
Right time.
That is burnt, dude.
Better than it was. You guys keep.
What do you mean better than it was? That thing's burnt. Bushing D-lam, spring stuff, just junk. Look at it. Sad. You hate to see it. Handguards are on. I'll do a little bit of a B-roll jobby of that here for you. So those tie the look of this hot rod together pretty well. They make a big difference throwing the handguards on. So now that those are on, the lights, the RGB light section is installed in the handguard itself. I have to mount this new little power brick jobby. They don't have the big resistor pack thing or power distribution module thing they used to have. It was this big silver brick. The white ones might still have that, but the RGB ones have this much smaller little thing. Same location for installation. You put it right on top of the belt guard over there. They actually have a really good walkthrough video on how to do this right from Polaris themselves, so I'm not really gonna cover it too much because their video does a great job. So rather than make this longer by me doing that, just go look that one up, or I'll put a link to it maybe in the thing. Moving on from that, get this in. I gotta pop the hood off. I'll put a big blanket here, flip it over, install the grill lights, and then they have a very similar little power module with a little splitter jobby. Mount and hide and tuck all that wiring in there so it clears the new intake tube assembly in there. And then same deal with the floodlights here. Pop those off. I think there's one hole we gotta drill. Yeah, get a little template, do all that whole process. Again, there's plenty of videos on these out there. I believe Jesse and Bruce did one a season or two ago on installation. I think Polaris themselves has a factory one. So again, not gonna cover that in depth and make the whole install process longer. I'm just gonna get to it, get it done, and then we'll show you the lights and everything all installed after and with them on and colors and fancy, and let's get into it. Actually, we're not gonna get into it because everyone else has already got into it. So I'm just gonna do it and then you'll see it done. Now that the lights are installed on this, I've got to do the One Rig scratcher kit is remaining, the Frog Skins cross country vent kit is remaining, and flash the tune into it, and the ski carbide stuff. Small stuff left, still a few things to get through here. The Frog Skin, they now include, I don't think I got this way back. Maybe I did, I don't know. We got templates, so this is pretty sweet. You cut these out with your skizzers there, lay them on the panels, mark your holes, boop, 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 drill those, off you go. I'm sure you guys can figure that out. I'll do a little time lapse of that. If I run into anything weird, I think I know off the top of my head, the front shocks have to come off to do the belly pan panels there to drill those. So with that, since I know the shocks are gonna have to come off down the road to do the progressive ski shock springs, I'm probably gonna hold off on those two, put those in a baggie and save those for that when it comes back. So that way I'm not doubling up on labor time, pulling shocks twice when I can just do it all in one shot when it comes back once those springs show up. So that's the plan there. Basically just the two side panels now, maybe even just the clutch side panel. I gotta look at this, lay those out, punch those holes, and then get the back up, do the scratcher kit, skis, and off we go. The ski stuff I probably won't cover because it's just swapping carbides, drilling an extra 2 holes for the navigator. Yeah, if I need to cover that, let me know in the comments. I'll do a whole specific video on it because I have to do that on some other ones coming up. So we're almost done. Okay, I have confirmed in the last 30 seconds there, these two are the side belly pan ones. We're holding off on those till the shocks come in. So we just have these two little guys on the clutch side panel. They go one on the top side here and one on the bottom right here. I think it's what, 7, 8 holes, something like that. So I'll tape those on with the templates, poke some holes in those, doot, mark them, silver Sharpie or the red paint pen, punch, drill, drill, stick those on, and that's done. Little, oh boy, oh God. Little hole punch action, little tape, a bit of this, do boop, 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 boop. Oh yeah, there's a bunch of foam on the back. We gotta make the snowmobile quieter. Stop putting this on here, because I just gotta rip it off, because all it does is hold moisture and it gets heavy. Who cares if it's a little bit like, oh, I want my snowmobile to be like my wife's Mercedes C-Class. Nerd.
Actually, the amount of foam we've added has made a 8 decibel reduction in the overall noise output of the snow machine. My snowmobile vibrates too much.
This is the only good thing that I've come up with for using a step bit if you want to stop at 5/8, mark the flat or the flute right above it, and then you go until that one's just above your panel, and that should be where you need to stop. what I'm doing now. We're on the scratchers, the last little bit here, installing the one rig scratchers. They utilize this big through bolt here for the front gull wing bracket as one of the front mounts. So I can pull the idler wheel, I gotta take the tension off of the shock so that it doesn't go kablang when I try to pull that bolt out. And then yeah, take the bolt out, put the mount on the other side, put the mount on this side, the nut, reassemble, wheel, all that stuff. And then it also uses these two here. Uses these two. Okay, we are getting there on the installation of the one rig kit. It is a little involved getting the main spring mount with this big bolt that uses or goes through the gull wing because it's one big long through bolt. So like I said, you gotta loosen the limiter strap, pull all your spring preload out, which is a little tricky because, not tricky, but not as easy as the standard ones. The Dynamix boot is really tight on the spring, so it tries to spin the boot too, so that's a little frustrating, but spin the spring preload off, and then when you loosen the nut over here, I end up using a little bit of a pry bar through one of the rail windows to support the front of the gull wing so that you could slide the bolt all the way out. Bolt out, back in, both brackets, blah, 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 tighten all that up, idler wheel bolt again, and now we're putting in the retainer bracket mount thingy here, and then your spring will go up, whap, one of those. So yeah, plugging along, not too bad, not too bad. Home stretch of the boost build here. Getting ready to go ahead and flash this hot rod. Pretty much flash it and then get the app thing going, play with the lights, set all the light colors, the handguards and the hood grill setup lights, and then she's ready for pickup. Everything else pretty much done. I wish we had snow so we could go right from this whole build thing to snow and riding it and go from there, but we're gonna have to wait a while for that. Getting our whole hot spot set up here going. And off we go. We're almost halfway. Two-thirds. Flash successful. Boop. I do need to give it a wipe down too, because it's accumulated some dust again after Albert doing all of his snow tire changeovers and whatnot. So you need to give it a wipe down, then I'll get the app going, I'll change some lights, and then move some of this. We'll push it out, we'll let it idle for a little bit by the door, get some B-roll, send Ryan a little video of it running, tell him to come pick her up. Okay, Snow Glow app. Let's get this going. Like to use Bluetooth. Okay. Send me notifications. What could you be notifying me about? Do not comply with local laws. Okay. Otherwise, you can kind of start trial run, play a virtual controller. What? Hold the thing close to the other thing to get it to pair. Oh shit, I had the one I wanted and I moved it! Aha! Sick. Thought the door would maybe do a little whoosh, you know, a little whoosh with the smoke, but we're not getting any whoosh, no whoosh action I'm gonna have to go ahead and turn the big old fan on and then suck it right out. And then it'll really go whoosh. Here we go. We're playing delivery guy today. We're gonna go drop Ryan's boost off. Now that we got her all finished up. Hang on. Gotta set the parking brake on this. And this hot rod in here. Not going very far, so we're not gonna tie them down. We're just setting the brake, which honestly do that most of the time anyway.